Welcome to the viewers and learners of the certificate course in consumer protection offered by the School of Law, Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today we are going to discuss an important topic called the history and growth of consumer movement achievement in India, and this is included under course code CPA 101 and block 2 and unit 8. This is very important topic as far as the examination point of view, as well as for enhancing the knowledge of the learner is concerned. Let us begin with the topic consumer protection. What was the status of the consumer protection in ancient India? In ancient India, consumers were provided protection by the rulers, and it was part of the ancient culture. You know, the ancient culture is very strong, and it was always in favor of the people of the nation. Therefore, the culture gave adequate importance to the protection of the consumers. However, this culture could not stay for a long period because of the extensive commercialization of the activities of the society. You know, the trade relations were existing even during the ancient period, and the trade was being imported as well as exported mostly through sea route only. And because of this commercialization of the activities across the length and breadth of the nation or the rulers, then this culture of extending protection to the consumer has taken a backseat. And also the consumer cooperatives in India, the consumer cooperatives were originally formed by members with the primary objective to protect and promote their own interests. This slowly and steadily emerges a very strong consumer movement in India is concerned. Again, there were enough in India. There were enough provisions for the consumer protection during the ancient period. The ancient culture recognized the importance of protection of consumers. For example, Kaudilya's Arthasastra was the basic law of ancient India, and the same was strengthened with the provisions to protect the consumers. Sale of commodities was organized in such a way that general public was not put to any trouble at all. In the event of, or if any high profit, profit primarily for the ruler is made and it is put to general public in great trouble, then that trade activity was stopped immediately by the rulers, realizing that the consumers should not be put into undue difficulty. Again, for the traders, profit limit was to be fixed. They cannot earn say unlimited profits and all. No, they have been given certain outer benchmarks. They can earn profit up to within the range or the benchmark provided under the law only. And the same is also extended for the services. And timely response was prescribed for all the service providers. For sculptorists, carpenter, tailor, washerman, rules for the protection of consumer interests were given. For you, they cannot, again, the time frame for washerman means he should return it within a day or two. The tailor means maybe 3 to 4 days only, like the time frame was given. So that was putting a pressure on the service providers for the purpose of providing or extending the timely service. Again, weights and measures are another important way by which the traders used to exploit the consumer in a large scale by selling underweights. It was very prevalent and very commonly all over in the ancient period. Even now also we are seeing such things are there. Now, weights and measures that were used by the business community were supervised by the superintendent of commerce to ensure that the consumer that they are not cheated in this regard. You know, generally even if you go to the now also you go to market, and in the public market like in the street vendors and all, seldom you will find they are doing the proper weighing machines prescribed under the law of the Weights and Measures Act is concerned, or the Legal Metrology Act 2009 is concerned. Nobody is following particularly the street vendors are. They have their own. Sometimes they use the stones also against 300 gram, 400 gram, 500 grams and all. They will have only 500 gram weight and 1 kilo only, but less than 500 kilo, 200 grams and all, they have their own local weights only. Unfortunately, the consumers also equally not totally unaware of such type the prescriptive weighing machines, weight prescription provided under the law, under the Indian law. For shortfall in weighing and measuring, sellers were fined heavily. If that this government official is they come to know that a particular seller is selling there is a shortfall in weighing, measuring of the weights and all, then they were fined heavily by the government department officials only. Weights and measures used in trade were manufactured only by the official agency responsible for standardization and such arrangements were inspected by once in every 4 months. Sellers passing off inferior products as superior goods were fined 8 times the value of articles they sold. For adulterated goods, the seller was not only fined but also compelled to make good of the losses incurred by the consumers and all. Now let us move to other segment, development of consumer movement through the formation of cooperatives. As I said, consumer cooperatives become very strong and powerful in India since long, because the consumers are generally not the average the consumers, particularly the poor consumers who are in the below the economic parameters. The economic situation of the country is concerned. So what is cooperative? We should also understand. Cooperative is an autonomous association of persons united voluntarily to meet their common economic, social and cultural needs and aspirations through a jointly owned and democratically controlled business enterprise. So it's a member driven organization. It is it's analogous to, if you become not much different than democracy and the cooperative is concerned. No, in democracy we say that no, it's for the people, by the people and of the people, and in the case of cooperatives it is regarded as a for the members, by the members and of the members. So therefore it's a totally member driven organization. The development of consumer cooperative in India may be divided into 3 phases: phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. Let us see one after the other. Consumer cooperatives are enterprises owned by consumers. This is owned by the consumers only. The consumers managed, and it is democratically managed. That means the management will be done by the members themselves, elected members only. There will not be any officers appointed for this purpose. Only the consumers manage democratically, aiming at fulfilling the needs and aspirations of the members. The consumer cooperatives operate in the market according to the cooperative principles. There are 6 principles of cooperation that the cooperative should invariably follow. These principles are provided under the law of the cooperative societies of the respective state and the Multi-State Cooperative Societies Act passed by the Parliament in the year 2002. So what are those principles? One of the principles, open and voluntary membership. That means the cooperative is open to everybody, regardless of caste, color, grade, region, etc., and it is purely voluntary. There is no compulsion on anybody to become a member. If a person wanted, he or she can become the members. The second principle of cooperation is the democratic member control. This means the affairs of the cooperative is managed and controlled by the members only. No other person can involve in the management of the affairs of the cooperative society is concerned. And third important principle is the one member, one vote. That means regardless of number of the shares held by the members, each member will get only one vote only. In the companies, the votes depend on the number of shares owned by the person. If suppose in a company, if a person is holding 100 shares, he will get 100 votes. But in the cooperatives, for a person owning a share of 100 and a person owning 1 share, both will be treated at par. Both will get only one voter only for decision making process, for election purpose only. That's what this principle is very, very important for the treatment of equality. Then the primary objective of the company is to earn profit, whereas the primary objective of cooperative is not to earn profit but to generate surplus, and that surplus is being distributed among the members only. The question of profit does not arise in cooperative concern. Then the next one is the cooperative education, creating awareness among the members of the cooperative societies about their rights, not only the rights, duties and responsibilities also. So that's also part of the cooperative principles of cooperative education concern. Then cooperation among cooperatives. One of the cardinal principles of cooperative, they should say cooperate among themselves. Cooperative means one cooperative should help the other cooperatives. One member should help another member. So that is the principle, the cooperation among cooperatives concerned. Now the cooperatives with the following this principle have paved way towards breaking the monopolies of sellers and commodities and service providers. That is one of the achievement made by the cooperatives concerned. Then eliminating unfair business practices adopted by the traders. Then benefiting the lower income groups of the community, the lower set of the community, the cooperatives benefit the lower income societies concerned. Then creation of consumer awareness and education. Now let us take the situation, the phase 2. In the phase 2, a long span of World War II from 1939 to 1945 created scarcity of goods and commodities, as during that period the producers were reluctant to manufacture consumer goods. This gave impetus to increase in the number of consumer cooperatives. The obstacles faced during the Second World War: one is the lack of suitable management. There is no proper management system prevailed in the cooperatives. Then widespread corruption in the market. The corruption was prevalent in the, you know, understand the during the Second World War, the acute shortage was there. Then the market system was collapsed totally. The corrupt practice was on the highest level. So that is what that's all this thing. And the low salaries and remuneration of staff and insufficient and also insufficient storage facilities. So these are the things we prevailed in the phase 2. And in phase 3, a setback cooperative movement was seen in 1951-52 on account of decontrol and detraining. Means, you know, the control system was relaxed. It was decontrolled, meaning thereby the government officers, the registrar of cooperative societies, they started gaining control over the cooperative societies. However, in the 1960, an All India Consumer Seminar on consumer cooperatives was formed, and also we have the India after the independence, say, adopted the 5-year plans. First 5-year plan was 1951 to 55, 56, and so therefore from third 5-year plan onwards, that is 1964-65 onwards, there has been much emphasis on development of consumer cooperatives extended by the government to make them viable. The cooperatives were unviable. Unviable means that they were running into losses. So one of the primary objectives of government was to make the cooperatives viable by providing support services in the form of contribution to the share capital is concerned. Now, consumer cooperatives are extensively engaged towards channelizing the distribution of essential goods through public distribution system. One of the major contribution by the consumer cooperatives, this channel, it's a distribution of the essential commodities to the people living the all and nook and corner of the country is concerned. They are in a way doing human service to the nation as a whole by undertaking the responsibility of public distribution system. Consumer cooperatives are engaged in this activity totally, almost, I can say. Now, the consumer movement in modern era. The basic objective of consumer movements in the modern era are to provide opportunity to the consumers to buy intelligently and cleverly. That is what one of the objectives concerned. And the consumer become more aware. Say they become more intelligent. So that with this, they started exercising their option and choices. Then recognition of regional consumer requests. Then the market recognizes that the consumer have a consumer request, whatever is made, that should be receive due attention. Otherwise, consumer may not come forward to buy commodity from them. So that aspect, consumer is a king. That concept was slowly started gaining momentum. So therefore, the traders, they started giving importance to the consumer request. Whatever the request comes in, they generally used to accommodate the request received from the consumers in general. Then protection against fraud, misrepresentation, unsanitary and unjust products. So there were people again became aware of this and the fraud committed or misrepresentation or unsanitary and unjust products sold by the traders are concerned. They started raising objections. Sometimes they used to make slogans also. Sometimes they used to organize street play also to make the people to understand the difficulties faced by them. Then participation of consumer representative in management of aspects of affecting the consumer. Then slowly and steadily, this consumer representatives got the representation, government bodies for policy making bodies, and also they have been given opportunity to raise their voices for the purpose of protecting their own interests. Now, again, the consumer movement also promoted the consumer interest. Basically, the consumer interest is protected by through this consumer movement of modern era is concerned. And finally, to provide help to the consumers for the redress of their grievances against the sellers or producers concerned. So the consumer movement is primary objective to help them, consumers, to reduce their grievances by way of and take the grievances properly. Now, let us move to another stages of development of the consumer movement, and these are different stages. Number one is the right to fair dealing. That no, the consumer were not getting fair dealing from the sellers, traders or manufacturers, etc., etc. So then this was the people they realized that consumers should be given the proper proper attention, otherwise they will not come back to them. That has been realized and understood. The right to have the satisfactory quality of the goods, the consumer also realized that they were right to get a quality goods, otherwise they were not. That was also one of the important principles of the consumer movement is concerned. With that, because they are paying money, the goods are not sold free of cost. So when they started realizing that they are paying money as a value for the goods, and that's what a higher price, they started demanding that the quality should also be ensured. So wherever the quality was found lacking, they started not purchasing the goods and all. Ultimately, that will be a problem to the traders, sellers, and so on and so forth. The right to know the fair price of the commodity is very important. The fair price, proper price should be made known to the consumers finally, ultimately. But even today, in some places, the prices are not disclosed to the consumers. Even as per the law, in the case of retail and retail shops, the shopkeeper should display a notice board wherein that the price of each and commodity is available in the shop, that should be displayed properly as per the law. But you go to the market, you will not find any shop having such a notice board displayed about telling that name of the commodity and its price and all. But it is there in the law, it is not being followed. With the result, by seeing the consumer's face and profile, they have their own judgment. If they come across a illiterate consumer or a rural consumer, they raise the price very heavily, so that they will not raise any objection. But if they come to any consumer who is properly dressed and neatly dressed, then they will quote a reasonable price only. So by seeing that, by facial reading, they should charge the prices only. But under law, it's not the case. Price should be even, and should be equal prices should be charged for each and every person concerned. Then right to information of retail price of the essential commodities. Again, the consumer should be made aware of the retail price of the essential commodities served through the fair price shops and all, that should be made known to them. Then right to know the date of the expiry. That is very, very important, because these days we all are aware, and we got awareness that before purchasing the commodity, we should look to the date of the expiry. If the product is sold after the expiry date, then that shopkeeper can be penalized under the law. We have a very strict law on this aspect. Right to select or choose goods of the choice. Now again, when we grow, when we have money, when we have all the things we assess, comforts with us, then we look for a choice of many goods out of the one. We don't go to the shop there is only one brand of the product is made available. Now we look for several brands. There are variety of brands, several brands available for the same commodity. So now people are more aware, and they look for the different, they want to exercise their choice and preference over the goods available in the market. So that's a valuable right. But now the marshes, there is some tacit understanding between the shopkeepers and this wholesaler or retailer, that they say there is an understanding that if they promote their particular brand commodity only, then they were being given certain percent share in their profit and all. So that's understanding going on, but we can't help it. Then right to be heard in the case of exploitation by the sellers. Again, the consumers realize that they have the right to be, then the exploitation by the sellers, that matter should be heard and the proper relief should be provided to them. Then right to be consulted, that the member should be also be consulted whenever policy decisions are taken. That is also it's important. Then finally, the right to redressal of grievances of the consumer by the producers or sellers of goods. Now it's an inbuilt mechanism. What they suggested, law we have a separately. We have the district consumer court, state consumer court, national commissions are there. But what we are discussing here, the traders themselves, they started realizing that the importance of the consumer and their rules and also their preferences. Then accordingly, they started giving an inbuilt mechanism within their system for hearing the grievances are concerned, for redressal and grievances and all. Even for example, if you purchase any commodity and if you find it, so if you even the shopkeeper sometimes tells, sir, you find anything, any defect in the goods, madam, we even the display, you can exchange it within a period of week or 10 days. That time period is given even through online purchases. That window period is always there. That is for the purpose of in a sort of giving the to hear the grievances and to give the relief only. These days it's very, very common within the period. Now, achievements of consumer movement. There are the consumer movement has also made certain achievements, visible achievements. What are those? Let us see. The achievements of the consumer movement in India include adequate emphasis given to the consumer education by the government and social organizations in various ways, promoting that consumer awareness among the society across the length and breadth of the country. For example, Doordarshan is telecasting a fortnightly program named Sansakshan Ubhoktaka and the All India Radio as Jago Grahaga Jago to increase awareness of consumers. These are the two famous the programs carried by telecast by Doordarshan and also All India Radio also. Also, the Ministry of Civil Supplies, Government of India, has instituted a national award in the name of National Award for Consumer Protection. This award is given for the voluntary consumer organization for their outstanding work in this field is concerned. Now let us move some. Now let us take some important case laws decided by consumer courts. The first case that we are going to see is Sinco Textile Private Limited versus Greaves Cotton and Company Limited. It was decided in the year 1991 and reported in the Consumer Protection Journal. This was National Commission. The main issue involved in this case is there any difference between the goods purchased for self-consumption and the goods purchased for resale or for commercial purpose? After analyzing the facts and circumstances of the case, the court concluded that the buyers of goods or commodities for self-consumption in economic activities in which they are engaged release shall make transaction for commercial purpose only. So therefore, it simply that the purchase for self-consumption will get a different treatment, and the purchase for, even though it is economic activity, but if the purchase made by the resale trader, then that will be treated for a commercial purpose only. That is the important development in the importance given by this concern. The next case is Cody Elot Limited versus CP Gupta. This decided in the year 1996. In this case, the complainant, who was a medical practitioner, claimed that he had purchased an ultrasound scanner and the same had stopped functioning within a short period of time from the date of purchase. The supplier, on the contrary, pleaded that the complainant was not a consumer in that case scanner, as the scanner was purchased for the purpose of his professional work and that he was making profit out of it. Therefore, it should be regarded as a commercial purpose, meaning thereby that it will not have the jurisdiction under the Consumer Protection Act is concerned. But the complainant claimed that it was being run by his professional skill and only for the purpose of earning his livelihood. Now the issue is whether what is the standard earning livelihood. The National Commission, after hearing the matter, came to the conclusion that the scanner was used by him, by his skill, for earning his livelihood. Hence, He is covered under the definition of the Consumer and the Consumer Protection Act. Accordingly, the supplier of the scanner machine was directed to refund the price to the consumer. So that's what the development is concerned. So there is a difference between, even though it's a the product is a commercial in nature, but that commercial nature, if the product used for earning one's own livelihood, then it will be definitely covered under the Consumer Protection Act is concerned. It's about a bank case about this DD. State Bank of India versus Ravindran Nair, law NCA, it is designed in 1992. In this case, a person has taken a DD of rupees 90,000 and it was issued by the State Bank of Travancore on the State Bank of India, Surat. On presentation, the payment was refused on the ground that the signature of one of the persons signing the draft, that is accountant, the capacity in which he signed in the document, the instrument was not mentioned. Actually, it is silly, it is unwanted. Signature, verification of signature is very, very important. Therefore, accordingly held that the refusal to honor the DD amounted to deficiency in service, and the bank was held liable for the inconvenience and caused to the draft, the person who took the draft, and the consequent, accordingly, the loss incurred by him was, the bank was directed to pay the consequent loss incurred by him by way of the purchase of draft is concerned. Now we will move to another case, Union of India versus Nathal SRS. It is reported in the year 1993. In this case, held that the railways are liable for deficient services when a person passing through the interconnecting passage way between two compartments of train fell down, resulting in his death. Because of this, the trains have several compartments, and there is a passage to move from one compartment to another compartment. I think in this particular case, it happened that that connecting thing was not maintained properly. With the result, there was a big hole, and the person fell down while trying to move to the another coach, and he died ultimately. So therefore, the railway was held liable and responsible in this case. Then Indian Oil Corporation versus Venkatramanan, it is in the National Commission, decided in the year 1992. In this case, the State Commission as well as National Commission held that the supply of gas cylinder with a defective valve and the failure of the distributor supply man to check the defect at the time of delivery amount to deficiency in service. Accordingly, the Indian Oil Corporation was held liable to compensate for the loss of life and injury resulting from fire caused by the leakage from the defective valve. A sum of rupees 1,50,000 was awarded. Now we take another case, Nivadut G. More versus the Vinyas Deshmukh. It was decided in the year 1995. In this case, it was observed that the failure on the part of the doctor leaving station without making competent alternate arrangements to attend to the serious cases was held to be deficiency in service. Consequently, the doctor was held liable for the medicine administered by an unqualified person working as compounder, resulting in the death of the patient is concerned. This was the real sheer negligence on the part of the doctor, allowing a compounder to give the medicines and all. So this is all about this case laws are concerned. With this, we conclude our discussion on the subject, and we will again meet on any other topic, please. Thank you very much.